did David Goyer read this when he was writing Batman Begins?
I swear, everyone must have read this fucking script.
All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to episode 23 of the Screenplay Archaeology podcast. I'm your host, Pyramid Head.
And I'm ShadowPred, who hasn't been here for a while, probably since the Batman and Superman script or something like that.
Yes, which was last March. So almost a year.
Jesus. All right.
And tonight we're going to be covering one of the first serious attempts at a Batman script, which was written by Tom Mankiewicz, who wrote 3 Bond films in the 70s and had uncredited rewrites on the first 2 Superman movies. So the idea was that this was supposed to be like almost a companion piece to Superman the movie.
Yeah.
And so we're going to be discussing that. And we did start recording, like us talking about all the Batman general stuff, like we usually do in these episodes, but we went so long and rambling on so many little things. I think it's best we just sort of reduce that down as much as possible. So yeah, basically, we'll just talk about the movies because we went into all the TV shows and the animation and the comics and everything. But we all love Batman the character.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. And like, for me,
hard pressed to find anybody that doesn't.
Yes, for me, like my introductions were Batman Forever, the '89 film, and also the animated series. Which I started watching it in that weird time where it was like calling itself like The Adventures of Batman and Robin.
Yeah, I remember seeing that, I was like, what's this?
Like, that only lasted like 10 episodes, I think, too. And so when I was like a little kid, that like confused me because they would show Adventures of Batman and Robin, but then it would just be called Batman, but Robin would still be in it sometimes. So as a little kid, that confused me because I was like, it came out the year I was born.
Oh, shit. Yeah, it's like, well, fucking cancellation, I guess, because Batman Beyond came out soon after that.
Yeah, Batman Beyond came out in like 98, 99, I think. Because the original animated series stopped in like 95, 96, and then it came back as the new Batman Adventures in like 97, I think.
Yep.
But yeah, as far as the movies go, I mean, I can enjoy the movie based on the old TV show. Even if the TV show itself, I get sick of how every episode is a 2-parter.
Yeah, it's a pretty fun movie, man. I've seen it like probably like twice, 3 times.
Yeah, I've seen
the show. The show, on the other hand, it's like sometimes hard to get into. Like, I don't pay attention to that. Like, I can't even go. I don't think I've even gone through an episode from beginning to end.
I think I own like the first 2 seasons. And it does that annoying thing that they sometimes do where they'll split the seasons up into multiple sets.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not bad, but I prefer the movie because even though it's longer, it's more concise. And it's just got hilarious stuff like they get saved at the last minute from a penguin's explosives by like a bomb disarming dolphin.
Yeah, that's the best part. You don't get to see the dolphin, but you know.
Yeah, they just talk about like that poor dolphin sacrificed its life. And the '89 film is a lot of fun. It has aged a little bit, but it's still an entertaining superhero romp. And the way it sort of just introduces Batman as this in the shadows character was really smart.
Yeah, plus it's already it's not really a Batman that's already been out for a long time, but it kind of feels that way where it's like, oh, like Batman's been around for like not that long, but like he's starting to like build up his legend or whatever the hell.
Yeah, like he's been operating for a while, just not a long while. Like, people kind of know about Batman, but they kind of don't, which is one of those things in the comics where they love to push that whole Batman as an urban legend thing, even to the point where it really doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't fucking work anymore. Like, get real.
Well, no, it's really good. Michael Keaton's really good as Batman. Yeah, like, Jack Nicholson is awesome, but Jack Nicholson is one of those actors who, even in, like, complete shit, is awesome.
Yeah, that's true.
And like, it's a good little solid standalone movie with a few problems here and there. And then after that, you had the Tim Burton movie, Batman Returns, which I used to be like, when I watched it as a kid, I liked it, and I didn't see it for years and years and years. And I saw it again, and I'm like, what is this crap? It's like, oh, they changed all these characters, blah, blah, blah. And now I'm like, I'm just kind of chill with it because it's like, even though I'm not like a big fan, I'm still not a big fan. It's like, this was 20 years ago, and it hasn't really influenced much of anything apart from like a few tiny details in the animated series.
Yeah, exactly.
But there was a big pushback to that because not only did it not make as much money as the first movie did, but there was like this controversy because it was supposedly dark and scary for children and all that, so we got the Joel Schumacher movies.
Which are a completely different fucking beast on their own.
Yes, and forever, I'll admit, because I saw it so young and that was the first one I saw, I still enjoy that one. And it is a movie that still feels like it's trying.
Yeah, like, definitely. Like how I've said before, you know, it's like Val Kilmer in this movie is like a really, really good, like, Bruce Wayne, I think. If this movie was anything else, but they kept that version of Bruce, like, dealing with this whole psychological factor, I mean, whatever else they could have done with that, it would have been fucking crazy, and it would have been amazing, I think, because I want Val Kilmer to come. I wish he would have come back.
Well, he was supposedly really difficult to work with.
Damn it!
I mean, I'm assuming you've seen the Island of Dr. Moreau documentary.
Oh, I haven't yet.
Oh, there's a whole story in there about how he basically was playing power games with the director and got the director fired.
Jesus Christ.
But no. Yeah, so Brando wasn't the only reason that movie is the way it is. But no, but I mean, there were some things that changed between script and filming and editing on that one. Like, it was originally written to be, like, the way it is on the page, like, it was written that Two-Face was like the much quieter and restrained foil to the Riddler's just insanity, but then Tommy Lee Jones just did not give a fuck, so.
He should have, it just sucks. I mean, it would have been way better than it was then. Because the whole movie's just fucking flat out insane with both of them, with Riddler and Two-Face being fucking crazy. Like, Two-Face shouldn't be, like, laughing as much as he is, or having so much fun as he is, or being as nutty as he is. Like, I mean, Two-Face is Two-Face. He shouldn't be, like, the Riddler and Two-Face, like, you can barely, differentiate them. I mean, they're both fucking wacky. They're both crazy. They're both just fucking, like, jumping up and down like maniacs. I mean, it's like, holy shit.
And then, of course, I don't mind Chris O'Donnell as Robin in that movie. Completely ruined by Batman and Robin, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, I mean, Chris O'Donnell, like, I have no problems with him as, like, being in that, or Robin.
Yeah, and you know who auditioned to play Robin in that.
I keep forgetting, but I think I've
Christian Bale. But also another thing that changed in the process was that first of all, the movie's not Nicole Kidman's finest hour by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh, no,
but
never.
One of the things that changed in editing was that originally it was supposed to open with Two-Face escapes from Arkham, and then it cuts to the scene where Bruce Wayne meets Edward Nygma. And so when he sees the bat signal, he like brushes off Nygma and essentially creates the Riddler because he has to go deal with Two-Face. The way it's re-edited in the final movie, it makes it look like he brushes off Nygma because Chase Meridian is a dirty slut and wanted to make out with him on the roof of the GCPD. And she totally is in that movie because she's macking on both Bruce Wayne and Batman at the same time. She's a hoe. And then you get Batman and Robin, which was basically Warner Brothers going, well, Forever was successful. Let's do that times a million. And I feel a little bit bad for Joel Schumacher because if he wasn't given, like, all these mandates of, it has to be lighter than what happened before, he might have made a much better movie, because you look at stuff he did, like Falling Down and The Lost Boys, if he took that sort of tone to Batman.
I mean, yeah, it's just true. It's like, I keep thinking, man, like, goddamn, this is the guy who did The Lost Boys. What the fuck?
Yeah, like, imagine him being the Lost Boys guy doing a movie with, say, like, Man-Bat in it.
Shit, dude. I'm already crying.
But I mean, you get Batman and Robin, which has some, like, unintentional comedy in it, which is kind of funny, like when Robin gets flash frozen at the beginning, and then Batman just picks him up under one arm like he doesn't weigh anything.
That's right.
And Arnold is kind of pulling off the one-liners in that, even if there are way too many of them.
It just goes to show you, man. Arnold knows what he's doing.
And I do get a good smirk out of him, with the polar bear slippers on, going, "Sing louder, sing."
God, what a crazy movie.
But like, I mean, the rest, I mean, like, Clooney has a couple of decent dramatic scenes with Alfred, and when he talks to, like, Mr. Freeze at the end, he has, like, a line he says to Mr. Freeze at the end, which I can't remember what it is, but that actually kind of worked. But the rest of it, he's just kind of like, "Hi, Freeze, I'm Batman." Her real name is Pamela Isley.
He's just rating off of the fucking...
And then, his interactions with Robin are just really annoying because they wrote Robin into a whiny, why is it Batman and Robin? It should be Robin and Batman.
So dumb, honestly. Like, Jesus. Such childish shit, man.
And the bit where he's on his motorcycle and he's like, I can make that jump, and then Batman, screws it up for him. He's like, oh!
I honestly think he could have made that jump. What the fuck? Batman, why'd you stop him?
So yeah, that movie is that, and I find just Poison Ivy to be insufferable. It's amazing Uma Thurman made the comeback that she did.
Fuck, dude. These movies, basically almost killed everybody's career.
Yeah, and Clooney, his only big movie before that was, From Dusk Till Dawn.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Which, I mean, he apologizes for that movie, too, and he shouldn't, because that movie's awesome.
Yeah, it's fucking cool.
It's one of his best performances, too.
He should just stop then, because it's Batman, because I mean, I don't see why he's still even apologizing for, Batman and Robin. It's yeah, we get it, Clooney. Just it happens.
Well, I mean, he actually has said that if anyone asked him for the ticket money back, he'd give it to them.
Holy shit.
Which that just shows what a stand-up guy he is. But no, that movie came out and it made money, but I think this is one of those weird things like Square Enix and Tomb Raider where it's it didn't make as much money as we wanted it to. Yeah. So it's considered a failure. And so they already had, while they were making it, they had plans for a sequel, which the internet for years and years called Batman Triumphant, but then the writer came forward and said it was actually called Batman Unchained. And it was going to bring back George Clooney and Chris O'Donnell, and it was going to be Batman versus, the Scarecrow, who would have been Nick Cage or Jeff Goldblum. And then...
every time that I hear about that, I just keep thinking to myself, I would have watched it.
Oh yeah, I would have too. And the story didn't sound that bad. I would still watch
it now if it was actually made.
And the tone of it was described as being somewhere between 89 and Forever.
I mean that's fair. I mean if they still wanted it to be, if WB wanted it to be stupid campy as it became, but they said, you know what, if you want to do a little bit of serious tones, go for it, but keep it, insane. That would have been fine, I think.
But what's even funnier about the Nick Cage thing is that that was just roughly the same time when he was signed on to play Superman. So that would have been the weirdest crossover if it ever happened. Also is going to feature Harley Quinn, who would have been the Joker's daughter out for revenge, and Courtney Love expressed interest in the role.
Jesus Christ.
Which, okay, yeah, she is the girlfriend of a not entirely mentally stable man, and honestly, I can't really blame them for having to change Harley Quinn, because Harley Quinn didn't exist when the first movie came out.
Yeah.
So it would have been one of those things, if the movie came out, it would have been what it was. And it was supposed to end with, Batman gets, fear gassed, and there's, a big trial scene where all of the villains from the other movies, minus Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy, all came back for cameos, and it's, a trial scene where Jack Nicholson's Joker was supposed to be the judge, and honestly, this would have cost a shitload of money. So that's basically what killed it after they were disappointed with the returns of Batman and Robin.
I mean, seeing, Jack Nicholson alone... He, for 2 minutes, he probably would have been give me more money than...
Give me more money and give me another cut of the back end. Because that's what he did with 89. He basically got a huge paycheck and he got a percentage of the gross.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, he probably after that movie didn't have to work again.
Yeah, for sure.
But that was expensive, and also according to Mark Protosevich, who wrote it, he said he never actually officially heard back from Warner Brothers about it. He sent a script off to them, and then he just never heard anything.
Jesus.
And this was also around the same time that I Am Legend was also going around with Arnold, and Protosevich was somewhat involved in that. I did an episode on that way back when. But yeah, so they basically started entertaining these lower budget pitches. Like Schumacher said, oh, let's do Batman Year One. They said no. And you said, oh, well, how about Dark Knight Returns? And they said no. And there was another lower budgeted script called Batman Dark Knight, which was written on spec, and just that title, dear God.
I know.
And I don't think Warner Brothers actually went for it, but I've read the script and it was okay. It had some decent atmosphere in it. I liked the way Scarecrow was written. Scarecrow and Man-Bat were the bad guys. But it's it was very low budget, and Man-Bat was tacked on, and the big finale takes place in the barn. So yeah.
Jesus.
Like, that can be an episode down the line. I don't know how much material I'll get out of it. And then at some point you had like Paul Dini from the animated series was working on the Batman Beyond movie. Boaz Yakin, who wrote the Dolph Lundgren Punisher of all things and was just coming off the success of directing Remember the Titans, was offered the job. Apparently there was some issue with him trying to make it more R-rated, and that's what killed it. I don't really know the full details.
Of course, freaking Batman Beyond always getting the shaft.
And then I believe it was also around that time that Warner's kind of like split in their direction they wanted to take, like both Batman and Superman, because you had like one side wanted to do the Batman versus Superman movie from back then, and they wanted to do that and then spin off franchises from it. But then there was the opposite camp, which wanted to develop separate properties, which those ended up being the J.J. Abrams Superman Flyby and Batman Year One, which we also covered, which is the holy shit, they actually were going to make this thing.
Yeah, like, can you fucking imagine where we would be now if that happened?
There would be no DC movies right now.
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean, nothing, or having to watch them, like, scramble around like chickens with their heads cut off.
I mean, it would take them down a notch, and then maybe like today, we would be seeing like the real reemergence of Batman since the fucking 90s.
Yeah, maybe. But that fell apart mainly because I think even Darren Aronofsky was supposed to direct and Frank Miller was writing it, but Aronofsky said that he felt like there really wasn't any chance of them making it regardless, so he just had them make it as crazy as possible. And then the Batman vs. Superman fell out because the camp that wanted the separate franchises, they won the argument. And because that fell apart, there was a hole in the summer 2004 schedule for Warner Brothers, and so they rushed Catwoman into production. And I've not seen that movie.
Yeah,
I don't know if I want to.
I always avoid it. I don't think there's ever going to come a time where I'll be like, you know what, it's time to sit down and see what this was like, because no.
It's one of those things where I've seen like bits and pieces of it while like channel surfing on TV.
Yeah, I've only seen like 2 parts of it. One being like the part where I guess she dies or something, and then some other scene with Sharon Stone just saying some shit, and then I was like, you know what, no, thank you.
And there was like rumors at the time that they were going to put a Halle Berry Catwoman cameo in Batman Begins. Which thankfully that didn't happen.
Yeah, because that's dumb, dude. That would...
Yeah, but then in 2005 we got the start of the Nolan trilogy, and those films... Like, I could talk about them for ages, but I feel like both myself and everyone else have talked about them so much, there's no point in talking about them anymore.
Yeah, like, so many people have already said, like, basically everything. Every point that could be made has already been made, and even by people... Like, yeah, like, everyone has said it, everyone has repeated a lot of it. I mean, what can you say besides just, like, you know, it was a good trilogy, I mean, I guess, like... You know, people might be mixed on The Dark Knight Rises, but you can't tell me that trilogy wasn't like the best offering that DC movies could make, especially like now with what we got.
And I'm glad they gave it like a proper ending.
Yeah, and it's like a real ending. It's like it'll continue on regardless.
Yeah, it was a good and honestly, there were things in that ending which just kind of got me a little bit, like the whole Alfred thing.
Yeah, that Alfred thing was dumb, but I think thinking back on it, I'm thinking maybe they did that possibly because they couldn't. I don't know what was going on, because I would think that either Michael Caine didn't have time to be showing up as often, or maybe they just said, you know, we're not gonna give.
Well, I mean, what I meant,
Michael Caine. But yeah, it's like that whole characterization of him being like, nah, Bruce, don't do this because you're gonna get yourself killed. You continue on. I'm leaving. I'm like, come on, Alfred would never.
I thought it worked for that movie because, like, this is a Bruce who has been just destroying himself for the last 8 years over something that he couldn't have fixed, and it fits the entire trilogy, I think. But what I meant was I liked how he figured into the ending. That honestly kind of punched me in the feels a little bit.
Yeah, like the movie was emotional for me because, like, I really like Batman. He's like besides Spider-Man, he's like my favorite like comic book like superhero, you know. And so just watching that movie, and as a kid that's been watching that, like at the time, like what year was it? Was it what was it?
2012,
2012 when it came out? Like it was like 20 years since I started getting into Batman due to the animated series, and then I watched like all those fucking movies, and then like as a person who's following him like from for a long time, and seeing Batman like actually making the sacrifice, like I honest to God thought he was going to die in that movie, and I was like fucking go Batman, you fucking save this fucking goddamn city, and I was like fucking ready to cry.
yeah. It's a film where not everything works, but I think the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and that's why I still enjoy it. Like, the thing that gets me about though is that it feels like there should have been like one more movie in between Dark Knight and Rises.
Yeah, I think so, because like the like when they tell you, there's an 8-year gap, Bruce Wayne has suddenly fucking is limping around and shit. I'm like, how long was it before he finally decided to just give up in those 8 years? I mean, was it really like right after the Dark Knight that he was like, you know what, I'm done?
Well, I figured it was after the Dent Act passed, but the timeline was really, what I feel like is that there should have been one more movie in between where they explored a little bit more of Batman as a vigilante, and then showed his decision to give up.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm still happy with the movie as it is, though.
Yeah.
But so we have that, and then honestly, I didn't expect, I would have been fine with them just going in, because Warner Brothers was already talking about doing a DC cinematic universe to compete with Avengers, and I would have been fine with them just leaving off Batman until like a Justice League movie. Because I mean, we just got 3 Batman movies in a row.
Yeah, you didn't really need him back, honestly.
But,
I mean, there were rumors that Joseph Gordon-Levitt was going to return, and then he would have been Batman in it, but that Christian Bale was coming back as Batman and all this shit.
And then there was someone talking about like, oh, we'll do a Batman Beyond movie with Clint Eastwood playing Batman. Like, there was so many things getting bandied about, and then it turned out that, okay, Man of Steel happened, I guess because that was the one movie that was kind of a success that Warner Brothers had on their plate. They went, well, we're going to build our universe around this. And we don't know if we can make it like a Man of Steel solo sequel happen, so let's just put Batman in there. And we got Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, which I don't want to go into any great detail on because it's been nearly a year since I even saw it, since I only saw it the one time.
Yeah.
And it's a movie where I don't necessarily mind the overall plot. I think it's workable. It's just there's so many little execution problems in it that kind of weighs it down a bit.
The problem is that there's like 3 or 4 movies in that single movie.
Oh, yeah.
That's the problem.
But really, honestly, what would fix the movie the most for me is if they just cut like 15 of like the 17,000 dream sequences. Because it's like, okay, the first one is acceptable because it's like a flashback to Batman's origin story and stuff. That's fine. Him walking out to the tomb and getting attacked by a giant bat,
Yeah, it's like...
Him having a vision of the future, which turns out to be a dream within the dream of the Flash talking to him or some shit.
But it happened for real.
Did it?
Yeah, because you see all of those papers flying everywhere. Like, once he wakes up from it, like, once the Flash leaves and Bruce, like, wakes up from it, like, you see all of these papers just flying everywhere, meaning it did happen. Like, Flash literally just left. Plus, Flash is a character who could go through who's so fast he could enter any fucking dimension that he wants to. Who's to say that the dream isn't actually that dreams aren't actually just another dimension in time and space, and Flash is like just shows up. But yeah, that was really confusing too, because everybody was confused, and it's like, who the fuck is this?
Yeah, because I mean, I saw that helmet open up, and I'm like, is that supposed to be the Red Hood? But I mean, aside from that, like, I mean, that whole dream sequence was just like, okay, let's foreshadow Doomsday, Darkseid as a possible villain, but we're also going to do random references to Flashpoint and Injustice just because.
So much happening.
And then there was another dream sequence, this time from Superman, where he climbs up a mountain and talks to Kevin Costner, who's piling rocks up. And I swear, maybe I was just because the musical score, every time Batman did something, it was like really, really bum, 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 bum.
Yeah.
And the bass was just cranked up. And that gave me a headache. So maybe I was just, my brain was just scrambled, but I could not understand a single thing Kevin Costner was saying in that scene.
Yeah, Kevin Costner basically, in summation, the point of the story that he told Clark was like, don't do any acts of good because there's always going to be a terrible consequence that happens because of it. Like the story was about how there was like a flood, right? And he had to stop the flood because otherwise the farm would get fucked. The horses at the farm would be dead. And then it turns out, and then like the next day it's like, yay, we did it. But then Costner says, "Oh, but then I heard about the farm that was like the other farm miles away from us. Like even though we stopped the flooding here, somehow I guess that caused the flooding to like get over there, and so the horses were drowning. And so Kevin Costner says I could still hear them at night, like when he was like trying to fall asleep. I'm like, why are you telling him this? Can you stop for once and just be positive? It's like in the first movie when he tells the kid, you should just let him drown, and now he's telling him don't do anything because bad stuff will happen if you do good. I'm just thinking, fuck off. This is not Jonathan Kent. I think that's my main problem.
Yeah.
Man of Steel could be whatever the fuck it wants to be, but if you're telling me that freaking Jonathan Kent, his freaking adopted father, the man who raised him, who's telling him, who's like teaching him shit, is basically telling him don't do any acts of like anything good that'll save lives and shit. Fuck you, dude. Fuck you, whoever the fuck wrote that or who told or like screw that shit.
Yeah, it was David Goyer who wrote Man of Steel. So.
Jonathan Kent should not be like that whatsoever.
Yes. Well, okay,
whatsoever.
This is a complete tangent, but I should mention there's one of the drafts of Superman Lives where Jonathan Kent doesn't want people to know that Clark has powers, and there's a flashback to his childhood where Clark's bouncing on a trampoline. And he's bouncing really way too high for a person, so Jonathan Kent just pulls the trampoline out from under him. But okay, so yeah, Batman vs. Superman, you have all those dream sequences, and just some plot contrivances, and Jesse Eisenberg works in like 2 scenes, but other than that, he's bad. And then the ridiculous like 30-second series of MPEGs of the different Justice League members, which you didn't need to see.
Absolutely ridiculous. Like literal teaser trailers in the movie. Like, come on.
You get the entire origin story of Cyborg because people care about Cyborg.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, look, there it is. Like, anybody who didn't read the fucking comics, especially the Justice League origin one, because that's basically what happens. That's the only reason why Cyborg even shows up in the movie, because it's like, oh, New 52, Cyborg is important now. Let's put him in the Justice League. I mean, nobody knew who the fuck that was. Like, my sister was telling me that a friend of hers was saying, what the hell was that? What's going on there? And I'm like,
I just thought
Cyborg.
I thought it was funny that Cyborg was created by Miles Dyson from Terminator 2.
Shit, and with a fucking mother box, and
that was
the mother boxes.
And that was the one they put the most effort to, because the other ones were like Barry Allen in like a convenience store, and then Aquaman just chilling in a shipwreck. Yeah,
that's about it, right? Yeah.
I mean, really, the best thing to come out of that sequence is the picture of Wonder Woman, because the Wonder Woman movie actually doesn't look that bad.
Yeah, like that. Jesus Christ, this fucking movie, goddamn.
But it was a movie which I didn't hate, but I did have problems with. And then, okay, this isn't really a Batman movie, but Batman's in it. The newly dubbed Oscar-winning masterpiece that is Suicide Squad. I enjoyed it, but I will fully admit it was stupid as hell.
It was just another goddamn mess to me. Like the editing is what really put me off.
That's the thing, because I think that was a movie which would have been much better if Warner Brothers just left it alone.
Yeah, they should have, but then it's like after the second trailer came out, and that was a much more fun trailer, then they were like, oh no, people like fun. What are we gonna do? And then after that, a fucking mess just occurred, like behind the scenes.
And it's to the point with the editing and that, where I can't tell how I feel about the Joker's performance because it's barely in the movie.
I don't like it.
Like, I mean, I didn't necessarily mind what I saw, but it doesn't feel like we're seeing a complete portrayal. It feels like we're seeing bits and pieces of it.
It doesn't feel like anything, to be honest, because I refuse to imagine that any of these characters are in the same universe as Batfleck. I mean, look at him. How the fuck? Look, like what made me laugh was when they first showed off like the Suicide Squad image, right, with the entire cast as the characters. Yep. I looked at it and I was like, they look so terrible. You're telling me that they can't even fucking make any of these characters even resemble the comic books. Instead, it's like this like ghettoized version of them.
Well, Enchantress.
Enchantress, yeah. But then I'm looking at Batman. And I'm like, this is the most Batman-looking Batman in the movies I've ever seen.
And I should say,
what's going on with the costumes here?
I should say I did like Ben Affleck as Batman. I thought he did well with what he was given.
Yeah, like he's like really the only good thing about about anything of that WB's doing right now.
But yeah, so Suicide Squad came out, which it's a mixed thing for me, but I did enjoy the movie, and so there is another solo Batman coming out. We don't know when.
Yeah, eventually.
And there was a whole bunch of stuff with it where it's like Ben Affleck's no longer directing, which, I mean, I don't blame the guy, because, I mean, he must be exhausted after Batman vs. Superman, Justice League, all these cameos, as well as starring in and directing another movie.
I mean, I think it was a mistake for Affleck to even show up, because now he's stuck with this, and he's a guy who's like doing other things. He's not like all of these other actors in the Snyderverse. All of them, they're not doing anything, to be honest.
No, Henry Cavill was not doing much before Superman.
Yeah, they're all focused on this. Batfleck is doing other shit. I mean, he's gonna be fucking tired as fuck by the end. By the time that they even finish Batman, and then they tell him, hey, you know, Justice League 2, let's get ready to go. Fuck no, dude. Like, that's not gonna happen.
Now, officially, what was I gonna say? Officially, the Batman, as it's being called, it's now being directed by Matt Reeves, so I'm interested to see what he does with that, because
Yeah, I'm just expecting Matt Reeves to eventually drop out, because who knows how long it's gonna take for them to even start filming this movie?
Yeah.
Because, come on. Like, I'm like, whoop-de-doo, Matt Reeves, after all these talks and all these rumors that he left or whatever. Oh no, but I'm directing the movie. Like, yeah, but how long is it going to be before, you know, anything even starts happening? Like,
and what I thought was hilarious is that the short list of possible directors that was leaked was like Ridley Scott was on it. I'm like, okay, I mean, if Ridley Scott actually would do a Batman movie, how many cuts do you think it would have?
Too many to count.
Yeah, we'd get the cut without Ben Affleck's narration.
I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about any of it. Like, Batman, like, even I'm like, you know, they're gonna fuck that up somehow.
Because, I mean, back when it was like, okay, Affleck's directing and, like, Deathstroke's gonna be the bad guy, I'm like, okay.
I'm like, no wonder Deathstroke isn't on the show anymore. On the shows, but, well, sort of he is, but not Manu, you know, it's just a suit.
Yeah, and I stopped following all the CW shows ages ago because I don't care anymore. I mean, we could talk about Arrow because that's in so many ways just a Batman show.
Yeah, they stole so much. They stole so much, like the whole Ra's al Ghul shit.
But I'd rather not go into that dumpster fire, that televised dumpster fire it turned into. And I don't know enough about Gotham to really talk about it, so.
Yeah, I mean, Gotham is its own beast. It's like it knows what it's doing. It definitely knows. It knows more of what it's doing than freaking WB knows what the fuck it's doing with their damn properties of characters.
Like, what they're doing is completely insane, but they probably have more of a plan.
Yeah, they have a plan. They understand that it's batshit crazy, and they're like, screw it. Like, we're doing it, man. We're doing it. It's like it's fun. It's so much fun. And it's so crazy. And then over here, WB, it's like I don't understand how WB does not fucking get it. Like CW built up this fucking universe on their own by saying, we're not gonna do superheroes, we're not gonna do superpowers. And then now we have fucking aliens, gorillas, and all this shit fighting the superheroes and shit. We got time travel happening. It only took 4 years for them to do all of that. And it worked. Freaking WB. Like, Gotham works, and they have almost nothing to go on except for, let's just bring in the characters. Who cares? I'll leave off the whole Batman cinematic discussion with
Currently, the Aquaman movie is on more solid ground than a Batman movie. Think about that.
Yeah, it's on more solid ground because they obviously don't care about it as much to get their hands dirty on it. So it'll probably be the best one.
And I'll be like, and I want it to work because I like Jason Momoa, and I want him to have a movie that works.
Yeah, like same.
Because, I mean, Conan was bullshit, but it wasn't his fault. Have you seen that movie?
I was watching it, but then I just stopped watching it. I couldn't finish it.
Yeah, Deus Deacon said the same thing to me, too. I'm like, you did not miss much.
Fuck. Another
But
miss.
yeah, so I guess we're going to be moving on to the script, and it's titled The Batman, and it's written by Tom Mankiewicz, and we have 2 drafts, the revised first and the second draft, and they're pretty close.
They're extremely close to each other. Like, there's probably only 2 different things that I recall happening.
There's 3 or 4 big differences I'll talk about. I remember them pretty well, so as we go on. And the basic plot of these is that it is like almost like the companion piece to Superman, the movie. It starts out at the very beginning with the Waynes being killed by Joe Chill in this version, and Bruce Wayne grows up, trains himself in all these different things, and he even becomes a master of sex, which is just a ridiculous scene. And eventually, he has this realization. He decides to become Batman, and he's fighting against, this corrupt politician who is Rupert Thorne. And it's played like a reveal, but but it's not really a reveal. There's like this criminal mastermind who's the Joker, who is actually working as muscle for Thorne. And so it's him versus those guys. And he also has a romance with Silver Saint, who is a character from the comics. And what it's mostly based on is there was a run in Detective Comics in the 70s by Steve Englehart and a couple of different artists, but mainly Marshall Rogers. And the difference between that and this on the whole is that was more it was all pretty much just standalone storylines with like an overarching sort of thing going on in the background, whereas this is one big story. Like, it was like Rupert Thorne was the bad guy, and the Joker was in it, and the Penguin shows up. Really, the big thing they left out was Hugo Strange, who was part of that arc.
Yeah, that would have been better if they put him in.
Because Hugo Strange, that's where the storyline from the animated series comes from, where he tries to auction off Batman's identity. Yeah, it came from that run. And so the storyline, so to give a little bit more background on this thing, Tom Mankiewicz was he was a writer in the 70s, and he wrote a few Bond films. He wrote Diamonds Are Forever, which is not great. And he wrote Live and Let Die, which I like a lot. And then he also wrote The Man with the Golden Gun, which is not a very good one either. So yeah, he's a little mixed there. And he did some uncredited rewrites on the Superman movies, the first 2. Now, I don't know what extent, his rewrites are reflected in the final film. So he was hired on essentially because of his experience on those, to write Batman and make it sort of like a companion piece too. And I guess since this plot is relatively simple, we can start off and go by it beat by beat.
Yeah, pretty simple to just go from beginning to end.
Yeah, and so it begins, and this is a weird thing is that specifically notes the dates, is that it starts in 1960, and Bruce Wayne is a kid, and Thomas Wayne is running for city council against Rupert Thorne, and they're going to go out to the movies, which is A Nun Story, which was an interesting choice.
Oh, that's right.
And we find out that Bruce has created, like, these holograms. Okay, he's 10 years old and he's created holograms?
Yeah, that's like immediately, that's the first thing where I was just thinking, man, this is gonna be an insane thing to read, because this is in the 60s. Bruce is 10. He's so fucking smart at this point that he's already making holograms, which I think they're called holographs in this script.
He says something like that, and he says, it's 2 lasers angled towards each other.
Yeah, it's like, fuck, like, he doesn't have to even be Batman.
And all it is that's only there because it's a really convoluted sort of setup for how he discovers the Batcave later on.
Oh, yeah.
But so they go to the movies, and then they're out walking, and they get approached by Joe Chill, who it appears to be a mugging, but as we find out as it goes along, he was a hitman who was hired by the Joker, who's working with Rupert Thorne, who wanted his competition taken out. We're not really giving away too much too soon. It's really obvious from the beginning.
Yeah, and it's just odd to me, like that the Joker is already there right at the start.
That is weird.
and he's just like laughing maniacally, like as Bruce is like, "No, my parents are dead."
Yeah, he's watching from the window.
Like, I'm like, is he right? He's just like right there, just looking at everything, just laughing. It's like, you like, why? It's just so strange. Like, Joker in this script is just odd. It's odd because it's like he does Joker stuff, but at the same time, I'm just like, what the fuck is he even doing here? Like
I think
why?
I think he's mostly characterized well, but it's just the plot stuff regarding him is just a little odd.
Yeah, it's strange.
And he doesn't wear purple. He wears a gray pinstripe suit. I don't know. And so pretty much what happens is that, is that Joe and one of the things they add in the second draft is that there's a little bit more of a focus on Martha's necklace.
Yeah.
Because that comes back later on, much, much, much later on. And so, like, he gets, like, intimidated. Joe Chill gets intimidated by little kid Bruce, which is honestly kind of an effective moment where the kid's just giving him this death stare and the guy can't take it and runs away.
Yeah.
And here's where another difference comes in is that, okay, so Rupert Thorne wins the city council position that he would have lost. And Joker's watching this on TV. And in the first draft, what happens is that because Joe Chill is hired by him, Joe Chill walks in, and then the Joker, like, gasses him, and he dies with a smile on his face. Yep. And then in the rewrite, he lets him go. He, like, says, go, leave the city, whatever. And then he kills his other henchman. There's a scene also where they're at like a newspaper vendor, and he just blows the guy up with a cigar.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
So that happens. And so even though it's not revealed that Rupert Thorne was behind everything, it's pretty obvious from the get-go. They don't reveal those two are in league until, like, much, much later on.
Uh-huh.
But it's pretty obvious.
I mean, they make it too obvious. Like, what? Like, they're, like, he's running... What is he, running for mayor? Thomas is also running for mayor, or something like that?
It's like city council. No, the mayor stuff we'll have to say for Batman Returns.
Oh, all right.
You're not the mayor. I could get a recount. Sorry. I have to do the Christopher Walken impersonation. But so Bruce, he doesn't determine to fight crime at this point, which is weird. But
yeah, he's just suddenly training.
Yeah, he has like this big 80s training montage where he's like, boom, where he's like learning all these martial arts, and he's like learning languages as he's jogging.
Yeah, and then he's like learning more science stuff, I think, with the tape recorder or something that Alfred notices while I think Bruce is asleep, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, he doesn't need to do that. He could fucking make holograms already. Like,
yeah, he's like learning everything. Like, he's just training in absolutely everything. And then, I believe they say it's his high school graduation, this girl walks up to him and she says, "You guess you never had any time for fun." And he says, "What do you mean by fun?" And I think she whispers something in his ear. And then he sets up a date with her. And then it cuts to, like, they're lying on the beach in the morning, and she goes, like, "I don't think I can walk, let alone swim." He goes, like, "Where did you learn how to do that?" And he goes, like, it was so funny. They're basically turning him into James Bond.
Yeah, like, Bruce is, like, so perfect at everything, apparently. It's just ridiculous, dude. It's like, holy shit.
Which, granted, this sounds like something Grant Morrison would write. Wouldn't it? Like, because he loves to make Batman just the greatest thing ever.
Well, I mean, yeah, sure.
I mean, it's like, it also reminds me a little bit of the ridiculous Superman Wonder Woman sex scene from Dark Knight Strikes Again.
All right.
Just apply it to Batman without the tidal waves. But then he ends up becoming like a serious ladies' man, sleeping around. He wins a paternity case.
All right. Right. I am not the father. It's just so dumb.
Bruce Wayne, you are not the father.
It's just it's so crazy. Like, doesn't he also, like, I think in the first draft he also has like a hamster, right? And he's like a sex crazy hamster. So I don't know.
I think I forgot about that. But
I don't know if that was like hinting at Bruce's.
Oh yeah, the hamster when he's a kid, yeah. But also they showed there's a bit which is kind of funny where he's talking to his stockbrokers and says, "I just tried this tasty new thing called McDonald's." Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, like to also invest on the computer chip, and then the guys he's talking to, they're like, "Computer chip." Like,
sounds like something you eat. Well, all right. So we have like the whole Bruce Wayne is like learning all this science stuff. He invests in McDonald's, which is hilarious because Michael Keaton just did a McDonald's movie.
Right.
And all this topical humor, which makes me glad I did the script this month.
Yeah,
and he races Mario Andretti.
Oh, right. And then he just beats him.
He's like, you said it's only a hobby, thank God, because most of us have to make money.
It's so dumb. It's just like just showing that Bruce is just like too perfect at everything. It's like, how can he do like any wrong, honestly?
Well, that's why that's there to foreshadow the Batmobile later on.
Oh, okay.
Which is admittedly pretty cool, but then, like, of course, the paternity suit thing happens. Like, there's like a reporter he runs into. She goes like, I want to know what a night with you is like, or something like that. So he turns off the tape recorder, and it cuts to them like he wakes up in bed in her apartment. And all I can think of is like, did the Iron Man writers read this script?
I mean, they must have, because like that's what I was thinking about the entire time, especially with the whole racetrack shit.
Yes. Oh yeah, Iron Man 2. And also the racetrack, interestingly enough, this was written 3 years before Dark Knight Returns, where he also does racetrack stuff.
Oh, well, there it is. Everyone steals from this shit.
But no, he exits her building, and he sees this family getting mugged. And he goes, saves them. I think in like, I can't remember if it happens in the first draft, but the husband actually ends up dying. But
right. Something happens to him anyway.
Yeah, and then he goes and kicks the shit out of 4 thugs on motorcycles.
Yeah.
And then he's like, this is where he finally has his revelation that he has to do something about crime. And so he goes back to Wayne Manor, goes down into the basement, and his hologram thing turns on again. And it says, even though the hologram thing is stupid, the emotional moment where he sees his mother again kind of works. And then one of the 2 lasers switches off, and then the other one bores a hole through the wall. And that's how he discovers the Batcave.
Convenient.
Yeah, and then the way it's written, it almost seems like that is indeed the first night he goes out as Batman, even though it's not possible.
Yeah, because like it feels that way, but not really, because like it's just so weird. Because I know that I think doesn't what happen after this? Isn't there like this couple that I guess are like that came back from prom or something?
Yeah, they're on like a train.
They get attacked by these thugs or whatever the hell, and then I think this is also like Batman shows up, right?
And you can see him in the shadows in the background.
Yeah, Batman shows up. He stops the whole thing. But at this point, I think that he has been Batman for a little bit, because soon after, I think it's basically the next scene, we get introduced to Gordon, right? And his partner, who's like this, like, I don't know, like the partner's the one that's talking about Batman as if it's Batman something that's been around for a while, right? He's like the only one. He's
saying they've gotten multiple reports this night.
Oh,
so it's all supposed to be in the same night. And yeah, Haley, he's described as an ass kisser, and he describes Batman as some sort of transvestite freak.
Jesus, frickin' Bruce must be insane to literally that night be like, you know what? How can I make myself look like a fucking bat? And he just picks whatever. Like, they don't even show you that, right? They don't even show him, like, gearing up or anything.
No, they just cut to the train, and he's in the shadows on the other end.
Right.
It's honestly kind of a cool setup, though. I like the first night as Batman in this script, because it's just him going around taking out all these different guys.
Yeah, and then Gordon's just like, obviously trying to be like, no, we don't... Like, he's like obviously against them, right, at first, and then and then how like
Gordon's first name is also David in these drafts, which is
that's just weird.
And then there's this funny bit where Batman like disappears down like a sewer after taking down this one guy, and he says, "Haley, go down there and look."
Oh yeah, and then like I don't know what the hell happens where Gordon is basically like yelling at Haley, telling him to like go back to HQ and then to check his urine for drugs because everything that he's saying sounds insane.
Yeah, that was funny. But yeah, and then the second draft adds in a scene because Joe Chill does not get killed by the Joker in this draft.
Yeah.
And the way it's inserted is a little awkward. This feels like it should be like the second or third night he's Batman instead of just right after the first night.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like going undercover in this bar basically as Matches Malone.
Oh, jeez, yep.
And he's asking around. He notices Joe Chill in the bar and then tracks him down to where he's staying. And he comes into the room as Batman and is going like, it's like, you killed the Waynes. I know what you did. And then he takes his mask off. And the guy is so scared he has a heart attack and dies.
Oh, right. He just like stares him down. That's it. Oh, he's like, oh shit. I killed him, Alfred.
and that is actually based somewhat on the comics.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was nice. I think I like that addition for the second draft just to keep him like alive enough just for that to happen.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm of the mentality that Batman should never encounter Joe Chill. You know, it's like something bad happened to him, vows to make sure that it never happens to anyone else, and so basically he's always trying to stop Joe Chill before it happens. You know, to someone else. Like I don't think Batman should ever like encounter him because then it's just like I don't know.
Yeah, it's based on.
I just like the idea that that he's always like that.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good. That's actually most of the time how it goes down. There's it is based somewhat on the Golden Age comics where he did track down Joe Chill and Joe Chill died that night, but it plays out differently. And also the whole idea of the Waynes being set up by someone that's also based on the Golden Age comics. Although thankfully they don't have Thomas Wayne running around stopping crime in like a ridiculous masquerade outfit.
Like him encountering like the guy who killed his parents sort of happened. Like I think it does happen like in Gotham because I guess it's not Joe Chill, or maybe they're just keeping it still a secret. But in Gotham, young Bruce tracks down Matches Malone, who apparently is the one that like was hired to kill the Waynes. Now, even though he does confess that he did kill them, I just don't believe it for a second. But I mean, he's at this point, this guy has already done so much bad shit that like Bruce is like just there, and then he gives him the gun and tells Bruce, just fucking kill me, And Bruce like doesn't. He just walks away. And then he walks away, but Matches Malone at this point, he's like, he's actually feeling guilty about everything that he's done at this, like, and he just sees Bruce as like, oh, so this is how it's gonna happen, this is how I'm gonna die, and he accepts it. But when Bruce leaves, like, he just kills himself.
Wow!
Shit. I was like, fucking Gotham.
Yeah, and Gotham is weird, but it is a good scene. And I do like the scene he has with Alfred right after it. It just needed to be worked into the script a little bit differently. Yeah,
because it's like what. Yeah, because Alfred kind of works in this, but if only it was written better. Because those scenes are a nice touch. Like there's even I think a moment where I don't know. I think Bruce tries to smile or some shit like after like when Alfred talks about like never having kids or something like that.
He says I didn't raise you. I just watched you grow.
Yeah,
or something like that. Which I do think the relationship between those two is written pretty well. Alfred doesn't get a whole lot to do here, but you get the idea.
Mm-hmm.
And so the next thing that happens is that Bruce Wayne is sitting by a pool, listening to the reports about Batman on the radio, and then he's talking to Rupert Thorne, and then up out of the pool steps Silver St. Cloud, the love interest for this script, and you can tell this was a James Bond writer.
Yeah, totally.
And I actually find that she actually is one of the better love interests that Batman has had in the movies, and this is a movie that didn't get made.
Yeah, now that I think about it.
Yeah, they actually have pretty decent chemistry together.
Yeah, because she doesn't seem. Yeah, exactly. She does have a chemistry with Bruce and as Bruce as Batman as well. Like she doesn't seem to be that much of a damsel in distress, but there sort of is. Yeah, like towards the end there's that scene where it's like, oh, I have to go save her, but throughout the whole thing she doesn't seem like that at all. I mean, she's actually like a pretty strong character as well, because like just the way that she sometimes talks to Bruce, it just kind of feels like she's in control of the conversation sometimes.
Yeah, it feels like she's a genuine equal to Bruce Wayne in a lot of ways.
Hell, yeah. And there's like a scene that we'll get to eventually, I guess it happens at Wayne Manor, right? Where everybody's there like at some party.
Yeah, that's coming up in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and he's talking to Rupert Thorne, and Rupert Thorne very clearly has a pervo thing going on with her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's working for him, but she's working for her own ambition because she sees that, Rupert Thorne could easily be mayor in no time at all. And so she likes the prestige of working for this guy. But then it transpires that Gordon is having his birthday party. It's being held at Wayne Manor.
Of course.
And that's where we get some more relationship scenes between Bruce and Silver. And then, like, there's like a singing telegram shows up, and it's these guys dressed as the Keystone Cops. And it turns out to be the Joker and two of his goons, and the Joker holds everyone hostage. And what I was expecting would happen was that Bruce would slip away, get in the Batman costume, and then take care of business, but he just kind of gets held hostage for a while.
Yeah, and it's like, and like before this, you almost don't even encounter the Joker ever since like the moment they talked to Joe Chill, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you just hear about over the radio or over the TV or something, like stuff that the Joker has done, like he fucking steals something from some museum,
Yeah.
or he does stupid shit that, like, I'm like, what the fuck is what the hell is this? And then at the scene in the manor, he's just acting like a regular crook, I guess. Like, oh, give me your jewelry.
And he's making some really not very funny jokes, like, how does a cop kill time? And then he takes Gordon's watch and shoots it.
Yeah, it's like, what? And then his fucking minions are like straight up like classic goons. Like, hey, boss, look at me do this. Come on, dude.
Like the animated series.
I was like, shit, the fuck, and like no one dies, right? I don't think anybody dies.
I don't think anybody dies in that scene. Yeah, it's just like they get embarrassed.
They just leave as if nothing happened, and then Silver says some joke during it. Like after that, like Bruce says something, like, and then Silver, I guess, like jokes about the scene or some BS.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, and then after everyone leaves, they keep dancing, and he drives her home. It was really weird how that went down.
Yeah.
And then I believe it's right after that he goes to Gordon and they say, oh, we're going, and he makes his partnership with Gordon, which is another pretty classic Batman scene written pretty well.
Yeah. And then like immediately after, oh, here's the bat signal.
Yeah. Oh, here's the bat signal.
Like,
and
we've had it this whole time.
Yeah, so then there's a montage of Batman stopping crime.
Yeah, it's like, I'm like, what the fuck? Because it's already pretty late into the script, I think, and I'm like, what? I'm like, what else are they gonna do with Batman? And then it's like, oh, here's a montage of everything.
Yeah, here's a montage. And there's even a scene of this person going, oh, my baby's still in the fire, and he goes and saves the baby, where it's like,
yeah,
the writers of the first Spider-Man movie read this.
Right? That's all I was thinking.
And it ends with him, receiving the key to the city on live TV, and it's like, are you trying to do a serious Batman in the shadows or not?
I know that's the whole. That's like throughout the whole script, there's like so much of that where it's like you don't understand what the tone of this thing should really be, and that's why it reminded me a lot about Gotham, the TV show, because the show's like that a lot. Like it's so serious, and like especially with, like, for example, Penguin, right? Penguin has gone through so much shit, like to the point where he's like fucking. He met his real dad because his mom was killed.
Oh yeah, it was Paul Rubens, wasn't it?
Yeah, Paul Rubens. He meets his dad, and then his dad shows him, like, the family that he had because he never knew that Penguin's mom was like pregnant with him. So he's like, this rich guy has damn it, hold on. But yeah, as I was saying, like, he meets the family, and like the family really wants Paul Rubens to die because it's like, okay, he's sick or something, and we need him gone so we could have all the money. So they end up doing that, and Penguin, like, at this point, he's like he's sort of reformed, right? Because he left Arkham Asylum, he's reformed, but he's still like a weak bastard. So once he finds out that these people killed his dad, it just gets crazy. Like, he literally, like, they don't show you, but he literally murders his stepbrother and stepsister, who are also evil, by the way. Feeds them to their mom, who's also evil.
Wow.
And he just freaking kills her after that. And then, like, later on, it's like, oh, look, I'm gonna become the mayor of Gotham. And then it's just so funny. Like, the whole thing is reminiscent of like Batman Returns, because they even have those big buttons, and then they, like, it's like, make Gotham safe again, but it works. Penguin wins, and then there's like this montage of him like at the soup kitchen and all this shit. It's just so funny, and I'm just thinking, God damn, the show, like, it just goes from one thing to the other and somehow they make it work. I don't know how they do it, man.
But yeah,
But it's the same tone. It really is. Like, honestly, it's just
yeah, that's what's so weird about it. And what happens is that it cuts like that. You see Batman giving this speech about stopping crime, and it shows the Joker watching TV, and he makes the TV blow up. He doesn't quite hit it with a boxing glove, but it's very 89. And also, the Bruce Silver relationship goes a little bit differently, the two drafts, because around here, because what happens is that the Joker decides he's going to hire the Penguin in the first draft to take Batman down. And the scene where the Penguin is introduced is set up by Bruce and Silver St. Cloud meeting in a zoo, which just made me think of the first Highlander movie. and their relationship is fine. They're doing okay. In the second draft, because you can't have the zoo scene with the Penguin enclosure without the Penguin, because it doesn't make any sense. They have this really annoying phone call where he's like working on like the Batmobile in the Batcave. And she's like really annoyed and passive aggressive, talking about how like, you haven't called me back, Bruce. And goes like, uh-huh. It's like, I might not go out with you again. Uh-huh. Not very well written. And so in the first draft, you get a scene of the Joker goes to talk to the Penguin, who's like this weird character who is like, has like a cold, who's like keeps everything cold and has like a cold body temperature and all that.
Yeah, it's just so odd that he's just there. Like when I was reading it, I was like, wait a second, what the fuck am I missing here? Like Penguin. Like,
and I get why he's added in, because he does show up in one of the issues of that Detective Comics run, but I think the second draft was wise to write him out.
Yeah, incredibly so, man, because like, I mean, he just appears. I don't think there's any reference to other criminals like the Joker in the first draft, unless I missed something.
Yeah, it's just the Joker and then the Penguin.
Yeah, and then the Penguin just shows up out of nowhere. But yeah, like they completely replace, like there's like this crazy chase scene where Penguin's heavily involved with it, and then in the second draft they just replace him with the Joker, which like, I mean, just goes to show it's like, you know, like it could be any fucking character you want it to be.
Yeah, and so we get a scene where Silver St. Cloud is going to Rupert Thorne's office late at night, and it turns out that he's meeting with the Joker, but they get word at the last second that he ends up tied up, and she gets knocked out. And Batman shows up in the aftermath, and in the second draft, there's a scene where you see Thorne, like he's palming Martha Wayne's necklace, which was left by the Joker. And then Batman offers to drive Silver home, and they go down in the elevator, and he was like, shouldn't we be taking the window?
Oh, and yeah, she's like, I thought it was going to be like this exotic thing. I was like, nah.
And then they're going down in the elevator. In the first draft, it's the Penguin on his helicopter umbrella. But in the second draft, it's the Joker. He cuts the elevator cable, but they don't die. Batman gets them out safe on the line. He goes like, maybe next time we should take.
Yeah. And then right after, it's like this crazy chase sequence.
Yeah, it's this crazy chase sequence in the Batmobile, and depending on which draft you read, it's either Penguin or the Joker and a helicopter thing, and like all these different cars, all these different like hovering things.
Yeah, like there's like Penguin somethings with jetpacks, and then the other one it's like, oh, it's Joker's goons with jetpacks, and it's just nuts. They're just shooting at Batman, and then like he comes up with this force field that he apparently was working on earlier. And it's like deflecting all the bullets and shit. I'm like, well, that's probably the best scene, I think.
Yeah, and what's weird about that chase is that it ends with him driving the Batmobile up into a parking garage and then jumping onto the rooftops. It's like, did David Goyer read this when he was writing Batman Begins?
I swear, everyone must have read this fucking script, man.
And sometimes that does happen where scripts are just sitting around and people will read them and use ideas from them. It's a common thing in the movie business.
Yeah.
And then I believe it's right after that chase scene where it starts off with the subplot of where Joker sends out the message over the TV saying that if Batman keeps showing up, he's going to start killing innocent people, and so Bruce Wayne actually quits.
Oh right, yeah, like for a short while, like he just it's like so much happens in this script. Like there's another character that ends up showing up later. I was like I mean, I guess I should just say it now. It's like the fucking Graysons show up, and I'm like, damn.
Oh yeah, they show up in the third act. That's something that happens in a lot of these Batman scripts where they try and shove Robin into the third act. And this one honestly does it the best.
It works. I think it works in the second draft more because, like, in the first one, with Penguin just showing up out of nowhere, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I was taken aback by that, and then it's like, oh, here's the Graysons. I'm like, oh shit, this too? But in the second draft, it does work better because it's like only the Joker, and then it's like, okay, here's like the Grayson thing, and it's like, oh, Joker's involved with it and all that shit.
But yeah, there's a scene where, like, Bruce Wayne goes to the opera, and, like, Silver St. Cloud is there, and she's going with Rupert Thorne. And then Joker shows up, and, like, there's, like, a Batman impersonator shows up who was hired by Thorne into Joker. He goes, like, they're like, isn't this irresponsible of you to be here? And he basically was like, fuck you.
Yeah.
And Gordon's, like, leading him out like he's, like, incredibly drunk or something.
So dumb.
And this whole thing I don't understand, because this guy apparently looks and acts just like Bruce Wayne does as Batman, to the point where even Commissioner Gordon is fooled. I'm like, where did they find this guy? It's never resolved.
At a fucking bar, we did see that scene in The Prestige. It's Crazy Steve from All-Star Batman and Robin. Right.
But no, basically what happens at the opera is that after that happens, Joker shows up and then assassinates the mayor, and then blame ends up falling on Batman because of this, and then Silver St. Cloud, who's figuring out that Bruce Wayne is Batman because he has, like, this nervous tic that he did as both Batman and Bruce Wayne. She's kind of figuring it out, and so they end up back together, and or they're still together as it was in the first draft, and they decide they're going to go to the circus. And this is where the Graysons come in, because at the circus, not only do Joker and his goons show up, but fake Batman also shows up and goes like, I do all this stuff for you and there's no gratitude. Y'all can die and fuck yourselves. He doesn't actually say that, but he might as well.
Yeah. God, what an interesting script.
Then all this chaos ensues where, like, Joker's, like, shooting around and stuff, and, like, the Graysons get killed, and then Bruce Wayne takes in Dick Grayson, and Dick Grayson has this hate on for Batman.
Yeah.
And there's this weird scene where it goes from, like, where it shows, like, Batman being, like, condemned in absentia, and I didn't realize you could do that.
Oh, that's right.
And then it cuts to the same judge, I think, is awarding custody of Dick Grayson to Bruce Wayne.
Oh, man. And fucking Dick was like, oh, I promised my parents something. He's like, what's that? I'm gonna kill Batman.
and basically, the whole framing Batman thing disappears after that point.
Yeah, and pretty much.
The weird thing about it is that I don't really get, like, okay, they got Batman to go away. Why are they still, like, setting up Batman for all this stuff?
Who knows? It's just an odd fucking script, man.
And that whole plot line of the Joker, like, putting, the blame on Batman was done much better in The Dark Knight.
Yeah. So there you go. Something else they took.
Yeah. Only it was executed far better. But it's just weird because it's like, where did you find this incredible impersonator and where did he go?
I know, man. That's the biggest mystery in all of this. You could ask any question, but that's like the biggest mystery of this whole thing. He just comes, he just appears out of nowhere and then he just leaves.
Oh, he's also at some point, I think at the opera is when he gifted the Wayne's necklace to Silver St. Cloud, and so he decides that he needs to get rid of Batman for some reason, and because there was this weird bit where she said, "Oh, I think Batman fell in love with me," and so she says, "Okay," he goes like, "Okay, let's kidnap Silver St. Cloud, but don't hurt her." But we need to draw Batman out to get rid of him once and for all. Why, I'm not sure. And of course, Dick Grayson stumbles into the Batcave while he's getting ready. By the way they clued Batman into this is that they set up earlier on that the red telephones from the TV show, they have them in this.
Yeah, and there's also one other thing I like to mention is like when the Graysons die, it happens because
oh, the bird?
Joker opens his fucking sleeve from his costume, and a fucking falcon just appears, and it just takes off and I guess cuts the ropes. I was like, this is so crazy.
Damn it, Hawkman.
Who would even think of that? That's so dumb.
Damn it, Hawkman.
Oh, jeez.
But yeah, that was what I forgot what actually happened in that scene.
Then, like, he goes to save her,
But no, Rupert Thorne calls him over, because it's established that Commissioner Gordon and Batman also have those red phones. So Rupert Thorne calls up Batman on the red phone and says, hey, Silver St. Cloud has been kidnapped, and this message was left, which Batman deciphers the clue, and it leads them to this museum with the exhibit on Great American Writing and these oversized, like, writing utensils,
Jesus.
including a giant typewriter and, like, all sorts of things, but the other big one is a giant pencil sharpener. And so, I should mention, the whole giant typewriter thing, that comes from that run of Detective Comics, where except instead of the Joker, it's Deadshot, and it's actually the first appearance of modern Deadshot as we know him in that costume.
Cool.
And it's like he attacks like Batman at the museum and stuff. But okay, so Batman gets there, and Silver St. Cloud is tied to the big typewriter, and Batman gets stuck on one of the things that's going to come down, and the Joker's like, ooh, which letter is underneath your cape? And so he keeps shooting the keys, and he spells out dead.
Yeah, it's just...
And it looks like Silver St. Cloud and Batman are about to die, and then Dick Grayson, who discovered the Batcave right as Batman was leaving and then figured everything out, shows up and saves his ass. Now, I don't know where the Robin costume came from.
I mean, it just came out of nowhere, just like the Batman costume did. And the bat signal. These things just appear magically, like when you need them. And then there's this fight. And I don't have the script out, but there's this...
It's pretty ridiculous.
It has all these bullet points of things that need to happen in the fight.
Yeah.
To the point where the only thing that I remember was that he wrote saying, oh, they dropped these goons on this giant book that slams on them.
Oh, here it is. I got the notes.
Read all
here
of it,
is.
man.
Here it says, Dick flinging goons back into the pointed tips of quill pens. Batman lifting a fountain pen lever, firing a river of ink at an onrushing group. Both of them using springy Hughes erasers as launching platforms. Oversized volumes of literature slamming shut on the villains. Enormous bookmarks and letter openers swung as clubs, knocking out 3 or 4 crooks at a time. Heavies being hurled into huge deep inkwells, turning them sopping black wet, unable to climb out again. Dick bashing a pair of thugs into the side of a giant pencil sharpener. They slam back against the on button activating it, which is setting up for something that happens in a minute. Okay, so during this fight, Rupert Thorne, who's been watching the whole time, sneaks in, unties Silver St. Cloud, and is about to run out with her. And he decides during the fight he's going to try and shoot Batman like a dumbass. And he ends up saying, Robin does something which makes them trip, and then like Silver St. Cloud ends up in the way of the bullet, and she gets shot. Now, in the first draft, she dies.
Yeah.
Which I feel that was more fitting, because in the second draft, like, it looks like she dies, and then the paramedic's like, oh no, it went right through her, she'll be okay.
Yeah, it's like, it's more effective in the first draft.
Yeah, in the second draft, it's just like, we pussed out. But no, and then Rupert Thorne, who's on top of the giant pencil sharpener, Batman's like, no, you bastard, and like takes a rubber band and shoots a giant thumbtack at him. And in the first draft, it impales him, and then he falls into the giant pencil sharpener that's been turned on. And then the second draft, it misses him, but he goes off balance and then falls into the giant pencil sharpener and gets shredded to death.
Oh, God, yeah.
I'm like, God damn, that's a brutal death scene. And then really it ends with Batman and Robin swinging out after the police and the medical people arrive. They swing out and they're going out on another night of crime fighting. And
that's it. Here's a sequel later on, but nope.
And honestly, I didn't mind it. I thought it was, for what it was, it worked okay.
Yeah, it's like reading it at the end. It's not that I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it for one. The only thing is that I was just confused by the whole thing, because the tone is it's either trying to be serious or it's trying to be like, hey, look, remember the Adam West shit, which clearly this last fight was obviously a fucking homage to all the stupid bullshit that happened in the Adam West stuff. I mean, come on, these fucking giant pieces of literature slamming shut on villains, these fucking giant erasers erasers being the jumping platforms for Batman and Robin. It's like the tone is what threw me off throughout the whole thing, I think, because I didn't know what it was supposed to be like. But it's clearly like a transition. Like, it's still transitioning from Adam West to to when Tim Burton shows up. And I don't even know why I'm confused. The TV show Gotham does the same thing. I should have been prepped for this.
And I don't honestly mind the tone so much. You just need to be a little bit more consistent, lean a little more towards one direction or the other.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Plus, the Joker himself is just a strange thing. It's like a fucking enigma in this fucking script, and I guess it kind of works because the Joker, he's like so fucking unpredictable in this, and but he's like nefarious as fuck. And like that's the Joker that I know, you know. It's like here's a guy who will fucking kill you, but he's also doing stupid things that I guess are supposed to be funny, and it's just weird. I think I just can't get over the fact that he was there from the very, very beginning, you know?
Yeah, that was weird. It almost feels like what they tried to do.
And he was already the Joker. It's not like in the Burton movie where it's like, yeah, he was there from the beginning, but he didn't have the fucking red lips yet.
Yeah, and it's weird because wasn't there something they did in the comics where they tried to say, "Oh, Joker's been around forever"?
Yeah, in Endgame, I think, and Scott Snyder, like the whole thing was like, "Oh no, the Joker's alive." Oh, what do you mean? I thought he died, but look, he looks normal again. What happened to his face? And apparently, like they were trying to tell you that the Joker is an immortal demon. And there's like these pictures that I think Gordon finds that show that like, wait a second, it's the Laughing Man. Like he's been around Gotham like since the very beginning. And you see all these pictures that show you this guy who's just like smiling all the time. And you're like, oh my God, no. But I think in the end it was just that, it was just bullshit. The Joker was just trolling everybody.
Yeah, and then the Joker did he get like Lazarus pitted or something, and that's why he's normal again?
Yeah, that's what ended up happening. That it was like a little Lazarus pit that he found, I think, during like in one of the caves or whatever the fuck, and that's why he looked all normal again. But then
that's why he has face back.
Yeah, that's why he has his face back, and at the same time, it's like it kind of did. It was. I think that was also used to like try to make you think that he was immortal for who knows how long, because they were talking about the stories, right? Like the legend of the Laughing Man or something. But at the same time, they referenced Vandal Savage in that passage, but they didn't mention his name, you know. So it's like it's obviously Vandal Savage that they're talking about. Then it's like, oh, a demon that blah blah blah, that something. So it's like, okay, Ra's al Ghul, you know, and it's like the Joker, the Laughing Man, blah blah blah. Like they've been around forever, but in the end, it's like not true. It's like no, just kidding.
It was just bullshit.
Yeah, it's just bullshit. But then now it's like. Now, because of Rebirth, it's like, oh, guess what, guys? There's actually three Jokers this whole time. God. Who could it be? And I'm like, why? Like, cause, like, this came after Batman managed to sit on the Mobius chair, and he's like, what is the Joker's identity? And then, for the longest time, we didn't know. It was like, it told him something, and he's like, no, that's not possible. And now, it's like, oh, there's 3 Jokers. There's always been 3 Jokers.
Now this script, what happened with this version was that I don't think Warner Brothers was still quite ready to do serious Batman. And like, I think Joe Dante was attached at one point, which would have been interesting. And I know there was an interview where Tom Mankiewicz was asked what his casting would be, and he said they should do what they did with Superman again, unknown to play Batman. He said David Niven for Alfred, which I can see, William Holden for Commissioner Gordon, and Peter O'Toole for the Penguin, which is weird. But he also said he also said that even as early as 1983, they were talking about doing Jack Nicholson as the Joker.
Damn.
And then the weird part happened where I'm guessing it was sometime after the second draft where like Ivan Reitman was possibly attached and he wanted Bill Murray as Batman. So I'm guessing that's sometime around like right after Ghostbusters came out, and that didn't last.
Yeah.
And then in 85, that's right around when Tim Burton signs on. Because there's an outline floating around, which I've read, which has Tim Burton's name on it. It's like, it's written by some person based on Tim Burton's ideas, and you can tell it's kind of working with the ideas from this draft because it still does the whole Waynes get set up to be assassinated by Rupert Thorne, and the Joker has always been around, only it's like the Waynes are killed in the drive-by shooting and the shooter is like a young Joker.
Oh, God.
And like Silver St. Cloud's in it. There's a whole bunch of things from that's in it. But I guess Burton just decided he couldn't work with this story idea, so he went in his own direction with Sam Hamm.
Best thing to do, honestly.
And what's funny is that this kind of starts this whole thing where like a whole bunch of different scripts try and just shove Robin into the third act. Because this one does it pretty decently. The early drafts of the 89 film, it's just completely insane how randomly Robin just pops up in it. Where it's like after that scene in Vicky Vale's apartment, there's like this massive chase scene where like Bruce chases the Joker on horseback and like they end up in the circus and his parents get killed in the crossfire and then Bruce knocks Dick out and like takes him back to like the mansion. And there's a scene where Dick Grayson gets up and tries to leave and then Bruce just like karate kicks him across the room.
What the fuck is this all-star Batman and Robin shit, man?
Miller. And then so all this, there's a little more there, but it mostly doesn't work. And then the very first draft for a Batman sequel written by Sam Hamm has Dick Grayson as this like street kid who there's hints towards him having been in the circus, but he's like a street kid vigilante that Bruce runs into and then adopts.
That's interesting.
And then there was the actual script for Batman Returns, which had the Kid, who was the black streetwise mechanic, who was supposed to be played by Marlon Wayans.
Shit, man, I still wonder how that would have been like.
And he was the one who helped Batman fix the sabotage Batmobile, I think.
Cool.
But yeah, it's still random as hell. But yeah, this basically just pretty much what happened because Tim Burton came on and just changed what it was going to be.
Yeah, smart move.
So yeah, on the whole, I enjoyed reading the scripts, but they did have their problems that needed smoothing out.
Totally.
And maybe like a third or fourth draft could have fixed that, but we'll never know.
Never at this point. I mean, I like. There's one thing in the script that I do like is the fact that they actually show like Bruce, even at a very young age, already starting his training, which I don't think is something that I've honestly seen anywhere else. And I'm coming back to it, Gotham, because Gotham's been doing a bit of that here and there. And it's like, hey, that's like the only other time that I've seen that happen, because usually it's just like, oh, the parents are dead. Oh, I'm Batman. Or like, Christian Bale's just training. But this script is like probably one of the few times, if it was ever made, that you would actually see like Bruce, like barely 10 and above, actually like training to be Batman.
Yep. And so all that interesting stuff, maybe it was for the best that it wasn't made. I mean, it would have been interesting. But yeah, I mean, I can't say I hated it. Yeah,
I mean, it's an all right. It's all right. I mean,
yes.
especially since it was still going with the idea, let's make Batman serious. And I think, when was this written?
83 and 84.
Yeah, I think this is before The Dark Knight Returns. So even then, it's like more proof that, hey, Dark Knight Returns really wasn't what began all of this shit. But,
yes.
But it's interesting to read, mostly because like there's still this huge campiness to it, but it's still like trying to be like not. It's trying not to be the Adam West Batman at the same time, but
yeah, it's in terms of campiness, it's much more Donner Superman in terms of campiness.
Yeah, there you go. That makes sense.
So yeah, I guess that was the Tom Mankiewicz Batman, and hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Remember, check us out on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter. I also have a blog spot I'm setting up, but I'm not going to really link that down below just yet. And also, thanks to all the people who subscribed to Screenplay Archaeology Twitter account in the last week or so. I got a ton of them. That was the Batman episode. And until next time, guys, bye.
Later.